As the United States entered the 20th century, increasing industrialization, urbanization, and mass immigration caused a fundamental shift in the goal of public education. Schools took on the duty of effectively preparing students for participation in industrial society rather than concentrating largely on moral development or local community requirements. This change is demonstrated in School Part 2 as American as Public School, 1900 to 1950, by the emergence of administrative progressivism, which viewed education as a system that required efficiency, predictability, and order. The structure of schools was altered by this new goal. According to Mehta, in an effort to cut down on waste and unpredictability, progressive era reformers adopted scientific leadership, consolidating power in superintendents, standardizing curriculum, and classifying students according to age and perceived capability. Large bureaucratic systems with grade levels tracking, standardized testing, and hierarchical administration are replacing one-room schoolhouses. In addition to reducing teacher autonomy and prioritizing compliance above local or cultural knowledge, these structural modifications were intended to make education more effective and quantifiable. Laborie clarifies that although Dewey and other educational progressives placed a strong emphasis on child-centered learning, the distinction is crucial because despite the fact that we still use progressive terminology when discussing education, schools are still fundamentally bureaucratic and efficiency-driven. Lawson Laws further claimed that when schools turned into tools for assimilation and workforce preparation rather than democratic empowerment, progressive changes were linked to social control, especially for immigrant and minority students. This viewpoint is related to Rayner and Etter's analysis of education as a tool of cultural repression, particularly for indigenous groups, where education was used to force conformity rather than promote self-determination. I can clearly recognize this tension because of my own professional experience in education. Even though schools frequently advocate for student-centered ideals and equity-focused missions, administrative progressivism is evident in day-to-day operations, including strict schedules, monitoring, standardized testing, and top-down decision-making. Even if educators were urged to adopt the language of holistic and inclusive learning, the goals of education promoted by administrative progressives, efficiency, accountability, and social sorting, remain forcefully established. These structural alterations made at the beginning of the 20th century are still very much in place. Public education is still characterized by age grading, bureaucratic systems, and uniform accountability systems. The fundamental framework established during the progressive era has proven extremely resilient, influencing how education operates and whose needs it ultimately serves, even as reforms come and go.